The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney, read by the author. Chapter 1. Julia. Thomas D., pronounced D, not Die, sat in his apartment. It was a very small apartment. The apartment was in a quiet neighborhood. He could afford better, but he wanted to save money. He lived in Seattle. He had a good job, at a big company. His parents were proud. His thoughts. Are they proud of me? I don't know if I have enough data to arrive at that conclusion. Thomas D. was bored, though. He had a lot of time on his hands. His job was easy, and he was good at it. He was usually able to get his work done every week very quickly and correctly with no sweat. He did not feel challenged, but he had lots of free time on his hands, which he often spent in his very small apartment reading newspapers. Why newspapers? His family, who were in the Philippines and on the East Coast, owned a chain of such newspapers. Thomas's father and mother ran this business, which printed these newspapers in various foreign languages. He had grown up listening to his parents talk about newspapers. They and some other relatives were all in the business together. His father and mother were always happiest when they had extra time on their hands so they could spend it talking about newspapers. It was nice, really. He missed his father. Thomas didn't talk about his dad much. He didn't see Dad much. Dad was always busy, it felt like, traveling, working, and not talking to Thomas much. Dad was an important man. Thomas respected his father. He wasn't sure if his father felt the same way. His thoughts. Father loves me. Of course he does. I know that. But does he respect me? Do I deserve his respect? Do I? And then, do we even trust each other? April 1st, 2015. That is when the rift started. A lot of shouting on the phone on that night. One day, Thomas D. was sitting in his apartment reading his favorite newspaper when he said to himself in his usual fashion, Analysis, December 8th, 2023. I don't have much to do. It is almost Christmas. My family didn't invite me to do anything with them during the holidays. Again. We used to celebrate Christmas intensely, but not so much these days. Unfortunately, my family doesn't often celebrate much of anything, not anymore, not with me, anyway. I am boring. I am busy. I am a professional. He decided to call his grandmother. She always took his calls and also really liked newspapers. It was Sunday. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hi, Grandma, this is Thomas. Hello, who is there? Grandma, it's Thomas, your grandson. Hello? Grandma, I don't think your hearing aids are working. Is Julia there, my sister? Hello, who is this? Grandma? A brief noise on the line. A new speaker. A young, nozzly, teenage voice. A girl. Thomas, what is it, please? Grandma's trying to take a nap. Oh, hi, Julia. How's it going? Thomas, is this important? Well, I just missed Grandma, Julia. Thomas, call my mobile phone. Don't call on the landline, okay? If you want to talk to someone right now, you'll have to settle for me. Alright? Call me after I hang up. Okay. Click. Julia D. and Thomas D. spoke to each other on the phone. Neither was all that happy to be doing so, not right this second. Thomas, you know Grandma isn't doing great these days. She has dementia. Julia, I know she has dementia. Then why did you call? Because I miss my grandma, Julia. Please. Thomas, you need to make other friends. Grandma was a great friend when we were both kids. Julia, we both are kind of kids now. I don't believe that, Thomas. Mom says we need to act like adults. I'm 18, you're almost 30. We can vote, we can drive. In a few years, we'll both be able to drink. You need to grow up. I have a job. So do I. I get paid to take care of Grandma. I work for the state. I have insurance. I have insurance. You're a jerk. Julia. A sigh. Look, Thomas, I don't want to talk if we're just going to argue. Why don't you join a club or a group or something? Get out of that apartment you're always sitting in. Go do something cool for once. Don't you have any hobbies or interests? You used to play tennis. You were really good at it. Why did you stop? Thomas thought for a moment. Once, twice, thrice. And then, I don't know. I guess I didn't like tennis very much. Another very heavy sigh garbled over the long-distance phone connection. Thomas, you're very smart, very reliable, very industrious. You can hold a conversation with anyone, if you try. You're my big brother. I want you to be my friend, but I can't be your friend all the time. Nobody can. Not Grandma, not me. You need to make other friends. I'm sorry, but that's reality. Please, go do something cool. For me. Okay, buddy? Okay, Thanks, Julia. I'm sorry for being a jerk. It's okay, Thomas. I know that's just you being you. You're great. Just get out of your apartment. Just go. Just go. I'll be in touch. I've got to hang up. Bye. Beep. Thomas was very sad. Oh well, at least Julia still even answered the phone when he called. When Thomas D. and Julia D. were just kids, really just kids, things had been different. Things felt like they were different. The old times, things were just different in 2003 than they were now in 2023. He just knew they were. Grandma was there. She was really old but could still walk around pretty well without a walker. Thomas and Julia would go in the backyard of her old house and talk about things. Thomas and Julia mostly argued while Grandma played referee, but Thomas thought it was fun. It helped him learn to speak better. He was shy. He had trouble speaking clearly. Arguing with Julia helped with that. He liked arguing with Julia, really. He thought it was fun. He guessed that Julia liked it too, because she never complained about these recreational arguing sessions to Mom or Dad, and she kept showing up to keep arguing. And Grandma was always there to make peace and sort out which of them was right, which of them was wrong when they were both right, and then always helpfully suggest that now was a good time to stop. Then they would all go eat lunch, and they would both forget about the whole thing and be friends again. Thomas and Julia loved each other. Of course they did. They were brother and sister, and they had Grandma. But that was when they were kids. Thomas put down his newspaper and got up from his favorite swivel chair. He got a new one every year. He watched YouTube videos to learn how to set them up exactly right. He could afford to buy the best ones he could find. He stood at the window of his teeny apartment. It was a nice sunny day out, in January. He wondered what the weather was like right now in Long Island, where he'd grown up, where Julia was now. Thomas missed Julia. He wished she were here right now. He hoped she had a bright future. He had a bright future. He wanted to help Julia somehow, but he just wasn't sure if he could do anything about that. He was lonely. He thought to himself again. Analysis. Younger sister, last name D, first name Julia P, is correct in her own analysis. I don't have enough friends. As long as any problem clearly identified, ad nauseum in fact. C, backlog of analyses, 2002 to 2022, approximate. So, he now knew that Julia was correct. Glad that was taken care of. But what to do about it? Thomas actually owned a TV. He didn't like watching it very much, but he knew for a fact that he read too many newspapers, just like Grandma used to watch too much TV. Thomas turned on the TV. On TV was a news channel called CBSNL. Thomas knew what it was. Grandma used to watch it all the time. A news report was on. A loud, skinny woman with short hair was giving a speech. Thomas wasn't sure what her name was. She was on CBSNL a lot, but her name only was mentioned and displayed a few times. Thomas saw this woman on TV a lot, but he knew that she was the least important part of CBSNL. His dad had once said that when he was visiting. CBSNL was kind of boring. Thomas changed the channel. The next channel was Wolf News. Dad loved Wolf News. Dad thought it was funny. Thomas used his remote control to turn up the volume on the TV. There was a fat old man with gray hair and pale, grayish skin interviewing somebody who Thomas could not identify. But the man being interviewed had his name on the screen. Thomas wasn't sure who he was or why he was on TV, but because his name was on the screen, the man being interviewed must have been important to someone, somewhere, like his dad, who liked to watch Wolf News a lot. Thomas sat down in his swivel chair. He kept watching Wolf News. Thomas had started voting when he turned 18. Julia had also started voting when she turned 18. Because Thomas thought the TV interview was kind of boring, he decided not to listen to it and instead think a little. He put on his glasses. Analysis enhanced. Watching TV is boring, but it can be informative, similar to reading newspapers. I was able to learn how to vote and help Julia vote to vote too, by doing both, just a few times a week for a summer. That was kind of fun. Recall, video 236, archive. Beep. Okay, Thomas, thanks for calling me. So, who should I vote for president in 2024? I turn 18 in a few weeks, so I'll be voting for president next year. I never voted before. That depends. Do you like Democrats or Republicans? Well, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure what the difference really is. I don't really like either of them. Politics scares me, actually. What is the difference? Do you know? Oh, that's easy. Democrats appear on CBS-NL a lot. Republicans appear on Wolf News a lot. Okay, why is that significant? I don't really know, but I usually vote for the candidates who appear on the TV stations I like best. I think that's what Dad does. He mostly watches Wolf News. End of video. Beep. After 30 minutes of discussion, Julia decided that she was going to vote for Donald J. Trump in 2024. She said she would read the New York Journal when she had to decide on who else to vote for in New York. She laughed when Thomas said, "I love the New York Journal, and so does Dad." Thomas had a bachelor's degree in economics from a top university. That's how he got his job as a statistician at Macrozon in Seattle. Julia respected his opinions, even if she didn't always listen to them. Thomas hadn't planned on voting. He couldn't find anything in the newspapers which told him the answers to questions like Julia's. He had been forced to do a lot of guessing when they discussed voting. He was glad it worked out later. On Monday morning, Thomas D. decided to check his voicemail. He had received a message from Julia in the middle of the night. Beep. Hey Thomas, I just felt bad about giving you the cold shoulder yesterday. I had an idea for a group you could join. You and Dad get along okay, and, well, you both sort of like Wolf News, so, yeah. You both like to vote Republican a lot, I think. Well, do they have any Republicans over in Seattle? Maybe you could go hang out with them? You're pretty smart, and since the Republicans are going to win the next election, I mean, that's what my dad says, as my dad says at least, well, maybe you can find some other smart people who you can be friends with. Like, it's kind of late. Just send me a text or a voicemail if you get this. Let me know if you think this is a good idea. Thanks, Thomas. I love you, buddy. End of voicemail. Thomas thought for a minute. He had eaten breakfast, gotten dressed, and he was almost ready to do his work for the day. He worked remotely. He lived in Seattle for when he had to go to meetings at the office about 2 hours a week. That was fun, but he wished it happened more often. He liked the office. People were nice there. Thomas decided to text Julia. Hi, Julia. Thanks for that voicemail. Those are really great ideas. I'll look up on Google to see if there are any Republicans in Seattle. I'm sure there are a few. There was a Republican running for governor a few years ago, but he didn't win. But since there was somebody else running for governor as a Republican before that, there must be at least a decent amount of them around here. I'll check on it. You're such a great sister. I love you. Thanks. Message sent. This has been The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney, Chapter 1, read by the author. Thank you for listening.